So apparently Amazon Prime Gaming is a thing now. Are any of these titles actually worth your time? Hey, let's find out. Hello everybody and welcome back to Cat and Kitty Gaming. I'm Matt.
I'm Kelsey.
And today we're taking a look at something that some of you might not know exists, Amazon Games.
Yeah, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you get Amazon Games for free. It's essentially a free repository of games. It changes each month, and you can play the games there all month long for free.
It's worth pointing out that a lot of these games are kind of retro games, like Ninja Masters and Ghost Pilots and Ninja Commando and all this stuff. They're very old retro games. So if you happen to have played one of these in your childhood, hey, it might be a fun little trip down memory lane for you. So in this video, we will be taking a look at 3 of the free games available in Amazon Prime Gaming, and we'll be doing so from 2 different perspectives. One of which will be my lovely wife, Kelsey, who is a much more casual gamer, is into things that maybe with a little bit more hand-holding, not necessarily super complicated mechanics. She loves games like Planet Zoo, Breath of the Wild, or The Sims, that kind of thing.
And of my dashing husband, Matt, who's a much more experienced gamer, always up for a challenge and has dabbled in pretty much every genre of games at this point. He likes games such as Dyson Sphere Program, Factorio, and Terraria.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at 3 different games today, which are available in Amazon Prime, which are not retro games, which you might be interested in. Those games are Terraformers, which is a resource management game based on the concept of colonizing Mars. Beholder 2, which is sort of a murder mystery side-scrolling adventure game. And then Icewind Dale. It's kind of an action RPG thing. It's a little bit weird, and we'll talk fully about it in just a few minutes here. As a quick disclaimer, there is one other game that is not like a retro game called Grime, Colors of Rot.
That is quite a name.
If you are into that kind of thing, feel free to check that out on your own. This is not really the kind of content we typically cover on our channel.
So Matt has already tested these games out, and now I'm going to be playing them, and he's going to be adding some commentary as I go along, and then at the end of the video, we're going to rate our best to worst picks for this month to play.
So stick around to find out which game is most worth your time. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are in our first game. This game is called Terraformers. And Terraformers, as you can probably tell just from the graphics in the intro screen, it's not like a AAA title. This is just sort of a medium title, if you will. But despite that, the game is surprisingly deep, that there's really quite a lot to the game. And for that reason, we are actually recording this after our initial recording, just so we can give you guys a more succinct explanation of our experiences in the game. Because trying to go through it play by play ended up just making way too long of a video.
Yep.
So
Matt started playing this game first. He kind of got his feet wet with it. And then during this playthrough that we'll be talking over, I was the one in the driver's seat, and I was playing the game to test it out.
So here we are getting into this thing, and like we said, Kelsey is the one playing. Now, Kelsey, this is really not your usual fare when it comes to gaming, right?
No, I had never played a turn-based game when I played this. I don't think anyway. And I'm not sure I've ever done a resource management type game either. I do really like colony builders and civilization type games, but this is a little bit different than that. So the concept was different to me.
Have you actually played the game Civilization?
Oh, no, I don't mean the game Civilization. I just mean like Civ.
See, that's an important distinction.
Yes,
yeah.
Not the game Civilization. I'm talking about just civilization builder games.
Okay.
I enjoy.
So the gamer terminology for what she's referring to is a 4X. Something like Civilization would be a 4X game, and you've never played something that deep before.
Yeah. 4X, because I know game stuff.
Yeah, totally. If you can't tell by now, because Kelsey's, of course, the casual gamer, she was definitely the least journeyed, shall we say, of the two of us, and so a lot of the lingo she now knows is because of the result of being married to me.
Yeah, pretty much all of it, I'll say. I didn't know most of the game terms until I married Matt.
She's still not quite fluent in gaming lingo. There's still some things she doesn't know, that being one of them.
I'm learning. But yeah, so as an initial intro to this concept, I did find it a little intimidating at first glance. There's a lot of icons, and the interface is not the most simple thing.
Yeah, so why don't I go through and just kind of explain what you're looking at on screen. So off the left, you'll see a bunch of different resources. Just going from top to bottom, you have food, energy, science, water, nitrates, silicates, titanium, and tritium. So it's a lot of stuff. And it sounds kind of overwhelming, and in some ways I suppose it is, but it's kind of necessary, I think, for having a good balance, because I think this game's goal is sort of to create scarcity, where you're probably never going to be able to have all of every resource that you want. And part of the way that it balances this is you can actually trade with Earth. So you'll notice there's a couple of arrow keys on the bottom there. That's basically representing your trade. So once you start unlocking trade, you can, for example, ship food off to Earth and import titanium or whatever it is you need. But starting off here in the beginning, you just start off with really basic stuff, just kind of like one habitation module, your headquarters and everything. And the way that this game works in terms of like how you expand, how you grow, you have to increase your population with things like habitation modules. Once you have that population, you can then send it off to other tiles to kind of like settle that tile. Once you have control of it, you can choose to, like, say, build a mine or build another structure, and you can kind of expand your colony that way.
Yeah, I did find the concept to be really interesting. I love the terraforming Mars concept because I love space and sci-fi stuff, just like Matt. The art is also really good, and the music is really good. The startup screen music was like epically awesome. And there's some things I find really nice about the interface. I do think that the trading, there's like a bar on the left, that's all the different items you can trade. I thought that was really easy to understand. It's right there. I feel like in some games, the trading is buried in some menu with a million options, and my poor casual gamer brain is like, nope, not doing that. But that is a really easy system of trade in this game.
Another thing you'll notice is there's a little dude there that says Thomas Foster. That's your leader. And your leader gives you different, options, different abilities, and each one has like a bonus, that affects your colony in some way. Maybe it's increased energy production, increased food production. It can be a bunch of different things. Now, your leader retires every so often. You have to pick a new one. So you can't just kind of rest on your laurels and pick the same leader and use the same, kind of OP strategy the whole way through. You've got to adapt. And one of the goals of this game is to, of course, terraform Mars. So you see that kind of upper right portion of the screen that has those different circles. Those will represent different parts of terraforming. So there's I believe it's heat, oxygen, water, and atmosphere are the 4 things you have to account for. And this game is very customizable. You can play it in such a way that your victory condition is more economic. You can play it in such a way that your victory condition is more in a terraforming kind of way. So really, if you don't like the way the tutorial sets it up for you, you can absolutely customize your experience in this game. Kelsey, overall, since we both played this, why don't you give me kind of what's your overall impressions? Maybe give me first your 1 to 10 score on this one.
Yeah, so I'd give this probably a 5 out of 10. I didn't hate it, but it's not something I'm probably gonna pick up and play. I did think it was a little bit hard to get used to the controls. The interface was a little bit confusing in the beginning. This whole game would almost be like the menu controlling the world, the overworld, and then the actual game would be like living in one of these cities and building it up. That's how I would see a game like this being more appealing to someone like me.
And for me, this game is a solid 9 out of 10. I absolutely loved my time with this game. When I was kind of doing the research on these games and I was playing through this one, I had to kind of force myself to stop playing so I could go investigate the other 2 games that we're going to cover. The one thing I might say is that replayability is perhaps not super, super high. Obviously, you can customize the difficulty curve. You can customize your victory conditions. But once you've terraformed Mars once, you're kind of familiar with the experience, if that makes sense. I guess so, yep. It all depends on what you want out of your experience. For me, replayability is kind of medium. For some people, they'd probably get a ton of plays out of this and totally enjoy it every time. But yeah, that's Terraformers. Overall, I think we have pretty positive impressions of it. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. We're going to go ahead and move on to game number 2, which is Beholder 2. Okay, so here we are in Beholder 2. As you can probably see from the visuals, Beholder 2 is kind of a dark, dystopian, it's an interesting game. It's kind of like a side-scroller murder mystery type of thing.
There's an overlord here, clearly, or a police officer of some kind.
It's like Supreme Leader Snoke or something.
Oh boy, don't kill us all.
Please, no. Now, you can skip all this stuff here, and I'll just kind of explain what's going on. People in this game don't really talk in the traditional sense, as they kind of go... sort of like in Overcooked, actually.
Yep, the Onion Man. Boy, everyone's looking at me.
I'm not really sure if this is supposed to be a dream or if it's literal. I don't actually know. You've got to jump off cliffs all the time and build your wings on the way down.
That sounds dangerous, but okay.
Okay, so in the opening cutscene, we see a man who is thrown from a window off the top of a building and is falling to his death.
Oh no, your father's dead? Is that him?
Yep.
My son?
Yes, you are. That is how you were informed that your father is dead.
Wow.
Through a PS and a note. Go and talk to Mr. Dude here. So basically, this is the guy who was murdered. This is his son. And he's basically saying, you know, I'm not some big shot at this company. Like, I didn't even know my dad worked here until like a week ago when I found out that he passed away. So now you're going to follow George into the ministry where you are about to go and start your job. And George goes on and on and on. You'll notice here in his dialogue that George knows a lot of figures about literally everything.
Look at that.
George is a bit of a numbers nerd.
Oh no. Where my father met his end. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Now George is going to brag about their very harsh security, which sounds a little bit draconian to me, but you know, whatever.
Scary.
And now someone's going to go through security and get the crap kicked out of him. Some poor savage just getting the crap, and everyone's cheering.
Oh,
it's
there's
like
people clapping.
I know.
What is wrong with these
It's like,
people?
oh dear, this is dark.
We don't even know for sure you had something bad.
Well, he had something in him.
Something metal?
Something
what if
metal.
it was like a plate in his head?
Oh, I thought you meant like a dinner plate. I'm like, who brings a metal dinner plate? Like,
Oh no, they just smacked him. Oh gosh.
oh dear. Just keep following George. Why are you tapping the button like that? It just makes you both twitch like crazy.
Judge.
So again, George is just giving you an overview of the company and how there's a ton of bureaucracy.
Wow.
And basically all these people line up when they have like complaints or problems. And your job is to sort of file through the complaints, give them the appropriate forms, and send them to the correct ministry to have their complaint addressed.
Oh boy.
And it's no concern of yours whether you can actually help them. Your job is just to make sure they get sent to the correct ministry or
Okay,
whatever.
I'm just routing
Yeah.
people.
So yeah, George goes on and on about his role and all the numbers he has memorized and how, when I believe when you get promoted, you get to go to like a higher floor in the building. It's yeah, a lot of bureaucratic stuff. So now it's that email is actually pretty funny.
And on mass mailings.
Seriously, one place I worked, someone was like, hey, in one of the company vans, I found a copy of the DVD frozen. Does it belong to anyone? And they sent it to the whole company. And someone replied all, it's not mine.
Yep. You gotta love those people who
I'm like,
reply
thanks.
all with like, no.
So now you're going to start addressing customer complaints.
Okay.
So now you actually have to read these.
Okay, I need to actually read this. I've brought work efficiency estimates for the fourth quarter of this year. They're in line with the goals set by the Ministry of Labor. A 125% output increase, a 30% salary decrease,
Oh dear.
and a 1 hour increase of the working day. That's a horrible
Sounds
thing.
horrible.
So it's a request.
So I believe it's a request because she won something, and I believe that sounds to me like a Department of Labor thing. And now you have to send her to an appropriate office, which is open. So today's Monday the 6th. So it looks like that first one is open right now, so you could send her there. So now you just print the ticket, and it'll tell you if you got it right. Okay, so it was an information form we were supposed
that's
to
what
do.
I originally clicked on. Although
Well,
I have
I
to
was-
admit I clicked on it just randomly.
Oh,
So
whoops.
okay, Propaganda Bureau. Here are all the student essays from my district on the topic of how I love the wise leader. Oh boy,
Oh dear.
that sounds frightening.
So maybe-
that's information.
probably information.
I would think.
There you go, you earned money.
Employee taking care of 3 kids must take up a lot of time. I sent all 5 of mine off to the orphanage. Oh my
gosh.
gosh. Well, that's definitely a complaint.
That might be a denunciation. Okay, you got all 3 right. Very good. 2 more to go.
Seems like a long line. These poor people have to wait in.
I guess so. Yeah, there was a lot of people out there. Your quota has been fulfilled.
Yay!
So you can go back with the
George
back
will be
button there.
pleased with me.
Just report back.
What a lovely day.
Oh, nice.
Hey. I'll wait for you by the statue. We still have more to talk about.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
George knows things. He's going to tell you about them. Take the documents from the cart.
Now I follow the big arrows, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, is that her? Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, she seems upset.
She's pretty grouchy.
Okay,
Boy,
Magda.
yeah, she's really pretty grumpy.
Okay. She doesn't care where I stick my extremities. Noted.
Oh, that's a very strange way to phrase that.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna go talk to George again because George
Alright,
has stuff to tell
George,
us.
at
That
the
is
leader's
not
feet.
outside.
The movement is a little choppy in this game.
Yeah, it's a little sluggish. But the game is not. It's, I mean, it's not a platformer, you know. It's not a
No,
big
at least
deal.
you don't have to jump or anything.
So my general first impressions up till this point, I really like the aesthetic.
Yeah, it's really creative as far as the look.
It's interesting that everyone is just in like black and white. It really helps emphasize that like everyone's just kind of a drone in this society. Yeah. Though it's interesting, they still find a way to make the characters look unique. Like it's easy to tell them apart, which you wouldn't expect.
Very creative, the way that they're designed. I like the aesthetic a lot.
This gives me like hardcore 1984 vibes.
Hello? Hello? Can I do something with you?
No, there's an X over it.
Oh, okay.
You have to go back through the metal detector on the way out? Are they worried you're going to steal something, I guess?
Steal stuff. Maybe we're secretly building weapons or something.
That would be strange for this office building, but I guess you never know in this place.
Government stuff, Matt. You never know. Maybe it's an underground lair.
He said, George says in a bit of dialogue earlier, there's more floors below than above, apparently.
Ah, so there you go.
Yep. So here George is telling us about how he's very sad about what happened to your father. And here's a letter that your father wrote.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Suicide note? Or no, he was murdered. We don't really know.
George thinks that your father was murdered.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Apartment 6 is considered a myth. Okay.
So basically here we're finding out that your father was a part of Floor 6, which is this big secret hush-hush project that everyone thought was just a myth.
That's where the weapons are happening.
There's something's happening. And George is like, nope, I cannot talk about this here because we'll all die.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was too late. He died before I got here.
Yeah, too bad, so sad.
Alright, so he's gonna bring it to me. Thanks, buddy.
Alright, well that's as far as I got in this game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Kels, what are your initial impressions?
Well, I have to say, even though I only just barely got into it, I like it. I think, like we said, the aesthetic is really cool. The concept is not something I've ever played in a game before. Yeah. And as funny as you'd think that something like sitting at a desk and routing people is mundane, I thought it was kind of fun.
It actually was kind of enjoyable trying to figure out where it needs to go, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I felt like a little secretary. It was like Secretary Simulator. It was fun.
Yeah, I suppose I've never really played a game like this where I'm just a rank and file employee who suddenly finds out there's a big mystery I have to unravel. And clearly there's a greater conspiracy going on with the death of your father and everything. And I don't know anything about the rest of the plot of this game, so I'm definitely intrigued. I may actually play more of this.
I think I might too. I'm really hoping that there's like a place you live and you get to go back to it. It might not be that complex, but that would be cool if there was like housing, you could go and live your life. So it's like half life sim, half dark job simulator.
I actually don't know how it goes in the next part, but yeah, initial impressions for me, I give this a solid 8 out of 10. I enjoyed my time with this game.
I'm also gonna give it an 8. I think it's worth that. It's good.
So hey, if you like side-scroller, mystery kind of games like this, it's definitely worth going and checking out over on Amazon Games.
It's nice and simple too. So I don't know if you're like me, sometimes not in the mood for a complicated game. Mm-hmm. This is a lot of reading, and it's very story-based, and it's pretty simple, so maybe it's a good one for when your brain's not working as well as it should be.
For sure.
It does for me a lot.
For sure. Hey, on to the next game. Okay, so our final game is Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition, and the reason I decided to take a look at this game is because I thought it was not a retro title, because it says the release date is 2014. However, when you take a look at the graphics, they look to me like they're from about 2004. I haven't done any research to find out if I'm right on that.
You're right, they do look old.
Well, at the end of the video, we'll tell you if I was right in my estimation. But I think what might be going on is the Enhanced Edition might have been re-released like years later down the road.
Okay, maybe they overhauled some stuff.
Yes. Now, the other thing that's worth noting about this game is Dungeons and Dragons pops up in the intro sequence. Oh. So I'm guessing it's some kind of Dungeons and Dragons spin-off.
No way.
And
I did see a dragon.
Yeah, that comes into play during the actual game. Now, taking a brief look at the graphics, you can plainly see what I meant earlier. Yeah, I mean, there's no effects, there's no nothing in the menus. It's all very, very old school looking. It starts you off with this party here that's sort of supposed to be a balanced party. I have my opinion as to whether or not this is actually a balanced party. Now, what I'm going to do here is, because this game, honestly, I found a little boring, I'm just going to go ahead and play some pre-recorded footage I took earlier from this game. Because I didn't want to subject Kelsey to playing this because it's a little dry. So let me go ahead and switch over to that footage. All right, so here we are in the game. I'm going to go ahead and pause real quick just to commentate on the game itself. So as you can see, there's just menu after menu, button after button on the side here. The interface is a little bit busy. and the characters are very, very small. You'll see this little purple highlighted thing as a door. And it took me a while to figure out that you can actually like go into doors.
Hobart Stubbletoes?
Yes, I'll get to that in a second.
That's a name.
Yes, I'll get to him in just a second. So I spent the better part of 20 minutes wandering around town trying to figure out what the heck I was supposed to be doing. Took me like 10 minutes to figure out how to get into a building and exit a building. Again, I want to give this game some grace. It looks like it was released in the early 2000s. Standards were different back then, okay?
Yes, they were.
They were. The problem is this game gave me absolutely no tutorial, no instructions. Like,
this would be my worst nightmare. I have a hard time with menus that are complicated / don't give you like a tutorial or help tips. Oh, it's so difficult.
So finally I went to the inn and I find this guy, Hobart Stubbletoes, who tells me he found this abandoned castle that has some treasure in it. And I'm like, oh, thank God, a freaking battle. So I say yes. He magically transports me to this castle and this happened. I get attacked by harpies.
Oh.
And look at the, oh boy, that is so choppy.
Jank.
It didn't look quite this bad when I was playing, but something about the recording really looks bad. The graphics are not quite this bad live.
That's my interpretation, but yeah, vocally.
And I can't even figure out what to do. Like, finally I figured out I can order all my units to attack the same harpy, but not before, I think one of my characters dies here short. Yes, one of my characters does die already.
Oh, no.
And I couldn't figure out, like, do I have to cast spells? Do I have to, like, what do I need to do to order my characters to fight effectively? So, okay, I win that battle.
Weird.
But I've lost a party member. So now I'm just kind of clicking through everything, trying to figure out what do I do now. Oh my gosh, that looks so awful. It's freaking eye bleeding.
I know, we have to give one of those, like, if you have a sensitivity to strobes, don't watch this footage.
How do I heal my characters? Do I have a revive spell? Like, what does any of this stuff even mean? So I finally figured out that you can use this little item to heal your party members. But it heals, like, what is that? Like, okay, it's at 24 now. What's it do after that? 33. What is that? 9 health.
Not so good.
That's like virtually nothing.
Better than nothing. I guess it would save them in a pinch.
So now finally we're wandering around the castle a little bit. Okay, is this where I finally, yeah, I'm trying to equip stuff. I can't figure out what I'm doing.
Boy, if you can't figure things out, I would have no hope. Because I already, I feel like somewhat nicely designed things I can't quite figure out.
If you consider yourself anywhere near a casual gamer, don't touch this game with a 10-foot pole. It just offers so little explanation. You hear that sound effect?
What the heck was that?
That was me. That was it telling me wrong item type.
That's a weird sound effect.
So finally, just by volume of attack clicking, I figured out the shield goes in this slot.
Oh my gosh. What a mess.
And now I tried the same thing with armor, and I finally switched it there. So at first I thought, maybe I'll go up here to explore, and then I thought, no, I'm scared. I'm going to go and see what's in that room. So here you see how janky it is trying to go through a door, and now there's more evil in here.
Uh-oh, sword spider. And a phase spider. Oh yeah. Boy.
And I mean, I can't tell what the frick is going on. Am I winning the fight? I have no idea. I can see that people's health bars are dropping. Okay, some spiders are dying, so apparently I'm winning the fight. But now it looks like I've lost, what, 2 more party members?
Oh.
The other problem I encountered was that I assumed that some of my characters are supposed to be like a ranged class, like ranger or mage or something. I couldn't find a way to order them to stay like in the back line. So everyone just walked up and was meleeing these big mean enemies. And now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get the loot, but my inventory is full. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do inventory management. At this point, I was already fed up with the game and I was like, screw it. I'm gonna figure out if I can just get out of this place.
It's like a nightmare.
You know, I can't emphasize enough how much worse the graphics look in the recording than they did when I was playing live. They really were not this bad. So I come back out here and just get absolutely massacred by harpies.
Oh my gosh, what are you supposed to do
I have no idea. And the harpies, you can see, they respawn, and there's even more of them than last time.
Jeez,
and I'm
they're
like,
wrecking your face.
And here you can see my characters are getting stuck on each other, so they're not even attacking. They're just like, look at that. They're just stuck on each other and twitching because they're trying to walk around each other.
Now there's other things, wyverns?
Yeah, now the wyverns are over there killing my third party member who was standing there doing nothing.
How are you even supposed to avoid this at this point?
I don't know. Like, what was I supposed to do in this situation? So now it tells me you must restart the game, which I'm like, that's harsh.
Heck to the no.
But I clicked load. It turns out the game does have an autosave feature, so there's that at least. But it takes me back to this point. Half my party's already dead. So now I think, okay, let's make a beeline back to Hobarth and see if he can get us out of here. It turns out, no, Hobarth cannot get you out of here. He's a giant word I'm not going to say.
Come on, Stubbletoes.
And he will not help you. I'm just going through the dialogue options. There's a lot of dialogue in this game. because it's supposed to be like an RPG, you know, you can choose a lot of dialogue options. So that is kind of cool. It's how you can kind of change the way your interactions with people go. You can choose like the nice answer or the impatient answer, you know, that kind of thing. But that's about really all this game has going for it for me in terms of redeeming value.
Wow.
And here I go, I just get absolutely slaughtered by Harpies again.
Thanks, Harpies.
So Kelsey, I know you didn't play this game, but based purely off what you've seen so far, what is your initial impression of the game?
Well, the fact that it has, I don't mind the sort of old school interface. Has anyone ever played the game Caesar?
Oh yeah, that was a great
3?
one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We might have to nostalgia vault that one sometime. That's a fun one. It reminds me of that. The graphics are, I know you said that they're worse here, but they're kind of crazy. And the fact that there's no tutorial or anything, I'm gonna have to give this like a 1. I would never play this.
I am gonna say I will give this probably a 3. It's hard to know how to rate these games because I suspect that if I knew what I was doing, I'd have a lot more fun with it. But the game does not really give you any means easily of doing so.
It has to set you up for success.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I didn't look in every menu, but I didn't see any kind of like in-game like encyclopedia or wiki or whatever. I don't really know how I could recommend this game unless you happen to have already played it and don't have a copy.
Or maybe if you already are pretty familiar with Dungeons and Dragons and you know something we don't about this game, that could be a possibility.
Maybe if you're a big fan of D&D, you could be persuaded to play this game. But there you can see, I was done at that point.
That was a big nope.
Alright, so we've arrived at the end of the video. We're going to rank which games we think are most worth your time. And I don't think you're going to be at all surprised by what is number 3. That is, of course, Icewind Dale, which...
Yeah, just don't play it.
That game is very niche. I really have a hard time thinking of anyone other than maybe really hardcore D&D fans that would want to play that one.
Not worth.
Coming in at number 2 is going to be Terraformers, which I absolutely adore this game. But as you can see from Kelsey's perspective, it's maybe not quite as friendly to someone who's a more casual gamer.
Yeah, it's partially because I have never played a turn-based game like that before, but it's probably not something I and my style of gaming would play again.
So that of course means that Beholder 2 comes in at number 1. It's a very unusual game, but the fact that it appealed to 2 gamers who have very different preferences, I think says a lot about how accessible it is to a bunch of different people.
Yeah, that one has a lot of potential, I think. Easy to jump into. It's not complicated like, you know, Icewind Dale or anything crazy like that. And I think all sorts of different types of people and gamers will appreciate that one.
Well, we want to thank you so much for watching, guys, and thank you, of course, Kelsey, for joining me and offering your insights on these games.
You are welcome. I love gaming with you, no matter the game.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Please do tune in next month when we take a look at the games available then, and we will see you next time.
See ya.